Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for Coach the Coach Radio. Brought to you by the Business RadioX Ambassador Program, the no-cost business development strategy for coaches who want to spend more time serving local business clients and less time selling them. Go to brxambassador.com to learn more. Now, here's your host.
Lee Cantor here, another episode of Coach the Coach Radio, and this is going to be a fun one. Today on the show, we have Michele Malo with Michele Malo Consulting. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, I'm excited to learn what you're up to. Tell us about your practice. How you serving folks?
The best way that I know how, and that's trying to uplift folks' careers through personal branding. But if folks don't want to go back to work, what we definitely help them do is start their own business.
So now what's the vibe out there? Are people really resigning at the rate are you finding that to be the case as well as what everything you're hearing about in the media?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that have happened. First and foremost, a lot of people's rugs got pulled out from under them. So there was no choice. So a lot of them are saying, you know what, this is the perfect time for me to follow my dream and start that career I was looking at doing, or that business, or completely change what they were doing. So if they were marketing folks, I'm seeing people going into training or into accounting, just completely 180ing everything that they were doing. But yeah, there's a lot of movement in the industries right now.
Now, what's your backstory? How'd you get involved in this line of work?
Well, I was in corporate Fortune 500 for a little bit over 20 years, and the Crafts and Kellogg's of the world, doing brand management and just leading the hospitality divisions for the marketing. And I did that so long, and I was on so many airplanes, and I loved it. But as fate would have it, I was probably the sickest 28-year-old you'll ever meet. I was over 310 pounds, pre-diabetic, high blood pressure, all of that. And I decided to turn my life around and lost 170 pounds. And what I was finding, though, is that was slowly starting to creep back up with the lifestyle that I was leading. And I thought I could have a bigger impact actually going out on my own and helping other people get their lives back on track, because everything is intertwined. Because if your health or your finances, your career, or any of your relationships, if any of that's off kilter, more than likely it's affecting all of that. So that's why I decided, let me see if I could really do something on my own and really make a difference in other people's lives. And
then you're still kind of using the maybe umbrella of branding, and you're still staying involved from a branding standpoint, just showing an individual how they can leverage maybe this tool that at enterprise level people talk about and think about all the time, but they can use it themselves individually?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, basically what it is, it's more of a process. In order for folks to really start to think of themselves as the product versus what they're doing, because people buy things from those they know, like, and trust. So if we can establish yourself on social media and when you go on radio shows or podcasts or any of those sort of things, to be very consistent in their messaging and how they show up in the world. And I show them how to do that. And if that means starting a business, it's also doing the whole strategy and marketing behind that and getting that infrastructure going so that what shows up and who that business is serving really likes, knows, and trusts the person behind the curtain.
And that's one of those things where a lot of branding is that kind of being congruent and authentic, in that what you're saying, it all matches up, right? Where people aren't saying one thing, doing another, or they're saying they're, super elegant and high class, and then they don't visually show that.
That's exactly right. Whenever I'm working with my folks who are looking to do a career change or to make a change within that area, I always say we want to make sure that the resume, your LinkedIn, and how you show up in an interview, there's no gaps. It all makes sense, because you've always, I don't know about you, but I have met folks and you read about them or you follow them on LinkedIn or other platforms, and then they show up and you're like, wow, that just something doesn't match and it feels off. You'll never get the job and you'll never get the sale. So we have to make sure you're absolutely consistent across every way you show up, like I said, in the world.
Now, you mentioned earlier that you lost a lot of weight. Was that exercise of the actions you had to take to make that kind of a drastic change? Are those some of those lessons transferable to business as well?
It absolutely is, because I tell everyone jokingly that I've probably lost and found 1,000 pounds in my life so far, because whatever triggers you and that mindset, because mindset's everything in whatever you do. And once things start going wrong, or there's certain triggers in your life, you start to fall back into bad habits. So why I was very successful on the health piece of that and why people gravitated towards me is because I understood there was an empathy there to really start to look at, okay, we can look at the diet, we can look at exercise, but what else is going on there that's throwing everything else off? Because maybe that's another area that we need to really talk about before we, make any significant changes, so we don't go back to the bad habits.
And it's one of those things where when you're going on a journey like you were going on, you got to kind of work it every day, and then a bad day can turn into a bad week, and a bad week can be a bad month. And that's the same in business. Sometimes you lose track of those daily activities you have to do every day, and then a bad day turns into a bad week, a bad month, and then all of a sudden you don't have a business anymore. You don't have any more clients. So to me, there's a lot of similarity when you're doing any type of kind of having an achievement of that magnitude.
Absolutely. And I think you have to also give yourself space with grace, because things do happen. But to your point, you need to get back at it. So writing goals, personal goals for the day, for the week, and have those go out and really start to look at them constantly, and have gratitude when you start to make progress forward. Because I see a lot of things in the industry where you got to hustle, you got to push, you got to do that. I 100% agree, but the hustle has to be strategic. It can't just be busy, so that you're actually doing things that matter, that, you see a pound off at the scale, you launch the next phase of your business, or you put that product even further into the go-to-market strategy, or you're finishing up that resume and making calls to get interviews. So making small, very strategic and focused action is what really needs to happen to keep you always moving forward. And I think happy also, because accomplishing things, and at least for myself, checking things off the list and saying, hey, I'm in a better place today than I was yesterday, is everything.
Right. And like you said, it doesn't have to be super big wins every day. Moving the ball an inch is still moving the ball.
That's it. And speaking as someone who tries to run half marathons and marathons, I say I'm running because that's very loose of what I do, but it's getting to the start line, and just it's one foot in front of the other, and then just seeing it all the way through to the finish. And it doesn't matter how long it takes you to get there. It's super important to remember that.
And I think that this is the value of coaches and consultants in this process, is that they become an accountability partner. They become a Sherpa guide to kind of light the way and show you what you could do, and maybe push you to aim a little higher.
Yeah, absolutely. And the accountability also comes in helping with the time management piece of things. So setting goals in terms of, okay, by this date, we will have, this done, because it's a critical milestone, just to keep the process moving forward. And then if there's a problem, you can address it. Versus to your point earlier, it's okay, it becomes a week, it's a month, because you don't know how to deal with some kind of blockage or a problem in a certain area. With a coach, you can kind of work through that, so you don't just kind of push that aside or procrastinate. And then, like you said, nothing's getting accomplished. So coaches are definitely a way to get things done. I always say I never. Do you yell at folks? I'm like, oh my goodness, you don't know me at all. I'm like, not at all. But I will be very assertive and question every day, what are your goals? What did we set out to do? And, I don't want you to let yourself down.
Now, what does kind of an engagement look like for you? Is it one-on-one coaching? Is it group coaching? Is it a mastermind group? Like, how do you work with your clients?
Absolutely. Right now, especially with COVID, it's been one-on-one. I had to do pivoting. I had to pivot on that, because I was doing a lot of public speaking, speaking with workshops and things like that. I am a certified mastermind instructor, but I didn't do that on Zoom, and I will look to probably relaunch that coming up here. But right now, it's definitely one-on-one. I've got a couple of clients working with that are in the process of launching some pretty big ideas, and still working with all my career folks. So that's where we're at right now. But we'll see what the future holds with everything that's going on.
Now, what is kind of the pain that they're having where you're the ideal fit when in terms of choosing a coach?
Basically, the pain I'm trying to solve is that they know that they're not alone. And what makes me very unique is that I have a very wide network because I have a lot of different experiences in different industries and platforms and things like that. So when they are stuck and they don't know how to do it, as an example, one of my clients currently, she has invented this brilliant idea, and she just came to me and said, I don't know how to do it. I'm the inventor, but I have no business background. And so I give them the reassurance, and they trust me to take a look at their whole goal and what it is they're bringing in their target market, to give them peace of mind that the gaps in their knowledge I'm able to fill for them, so we can get their product to market and get them making some money pretty quick.
So now, but could it be also like an executive that is, maybe in a leadership role? Can you help that person as well? That maybe they're thinking, hey, maybe I see the writing on the wall here. Maybe I need a second act.
Yeah, actually, absolutely. I have quite a few clients that come from the executive ranks. Because again, once you get to the VP roles, even, senior directors and all of that, because I was one of those folks. And I did get a coach myself when I was trying to figure out, do I leave? Do I stay with what I'm doing? Because I was very successful at it. And that's actually something I really love doing, because we get into my intake form and kind of my process is to understand the life that they want to live. Not the career, not defined by their family or anything else like that, but really digging down to see, what does life look like? Because once we understand what they're trying to achieve on a personal level, then we're able to peel back the onion layers and start making a strategy and branding and a plan for them to get to the next level based on their goals for their life.
Now, what's been the most rewarding client you've worked with? What story have you helped in sharing? Do you mind sharing a story where you've helped someone get to a new level?
Oh, absolutely. This is one of my absolute favorites. She came to me. She was a single mama from Chicago and had met me at a conference, honestly, 2 years ago. So I tell everybody, you never know who you've affected. It might be a phone call the next day or 2 years from that day. But when they need you and if you've made an impression, they will get in contact with you. And she was, like I said, a single mom and working for her kiddos. But in her heart, she's always been a musician. And she wanted to start doing, as her kiddos were getting close to college and all of that, to start moving towards that career. And but she was unmotivated. She didn't know how to do it. She was struggling with depression. And, we just made a plan for her to start getting out there, how we can get her to do little things every day. So she's always practicing, because she was a bass player and a vocalist. And fast forward, she now is the voice of Walmart. And she also scored on last season's The Voice. She was in the top 10.
Wow.
And now she's even doing television. She's got a couple different roles that she's walking onto. So she went from someone who's very, very strong, but was very, very tired, to realizing her absolute dream and goals. And honestly, I felt like a proud mama just to see her do that. Because when she called me and said she did a thing, she's like, I did a thing. I'm like, what'd you do? She goes, I tried out for The Voice. And she had done American Idol way back, but it was a bad experience. And I said, I'm proud of you. She's like, well, we'll see. It's time. And it's her time.
Wow.
So I'm proud to be just a little piece of that.
That's an amazing story. I mean, you see on that show, especially the backstory of a lot of those folks that just, this is kind of their last swing at a dream, and then when it comes true, it's just amazing.
Yeah, it's so, and to see the pride in her, and she's also like a fashion icon, and I just, it was everything we had talked about. And now this is 5 years in the making, so on and off, and for her to follow things, but you got to stay with it. I think that's the moral of the story, is never give up on that dream. You don't have to be 22 to become a musician. You can have life happen and it still can come true. And that's with anything you do. So that's why having people in your corner to be your cheerleader, also to, when you're down, say, okay, let's get back up. What's going on? And giving them small tasks to just keep them on the road towards what they're truly, truly wanting to do and having them win in life.
Well, congratulations on all the success. If somebody wants to learn more, maybe get on your calendar or, schedule a call, what is the best way to do that?
Sure. You can look up the mindsetmenu.com if you want to sign up to have a call with me. Or you can reach out to me on any of the social media platforms at Michele Lee Malo. Those are all my handles. I'm in 1L Michele. So make sure you get that. But that's the best way to get a hold of me. Like I said, reach out on social or go ahead and schedule a calendar event with me through the mindsetmenu.com.
Well, thank you again for sharing your story today. You're doing important work and we appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. This is Lee Cantor. We'll see you all next time on Coach the Coach Radio.